Such a beautiful song, and written very much as a vehicle for Elton John's voice, as it was in the mid-70s, a long way from where my voice is. And quite a sophisticated song. The saving grace for us here, because some of the chord changes are a little bit nifty, is that the tempo is so slow that there really is time to do everything. So it's going to be a question of going over some of this stuff and just getting it under your fingers. I should add before I forget, we've got a capo on the 3rd fret. The original is in G minor, very beautiful key, but not so great for the guitar. So this puts us as if in E minor. There's quite a lot of E minor in this song. And just on the subject of E minor, let's go straight away to a picking pattern that we can use, a very generic kind of pop ballady type picking pattern. I want to try this, and this really emulates what Elton John does on the piano. There are other things too, of course, but this is the basic idea. If I have my fingers, I'm going to take my 3 picking fingers and put them on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings. Just because the capo's up on the 3rd, it's already quite bright. I could put my fingers right up here on the top 3 strings, but this just feel a little bit bright. So my 3rd finger is on the 2nd string, 2nd finger on the 3rd string, my 1st finger is down on the 4th string, my thumb is going to be wherever the bass note is, and for the E minor that's the 6th string, so once per beat, like that. Now the typical thing on the piano would be to play octave bass notes and then a triad, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, that kind of a thing. And if we emulate that here, we're going to get this with the fingers, 2nd and 3rd fingers on the beat, and then the 1st finger in between. With the bass also on the beat. And the first 2 bars of the verse are a bar of E minor, and then a bar of A minor. What have I gotta do to make you love me? Okay, that's easy enough. So that would be almost like a kind of placeholder picking pattern for this. We'll do other things too. There'll be some more adventurous and more detailed ideas later on, but for now, that'll work. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the intro. We begin with 2 bars of E minor, which is just the 3 top strings open, and then a different note in the bass each time. So we have 2 beats of this E minor with an open 4th string, E minor over D. Then we have a note on the 4th fret of the 5th string. That's E minor over C sharp. Then we come down E minor over C, so that's now on the 3rd fret. I might call that C major 7. And then E minor over B. So that's the first 2 bars, the first half of the intro. Now it's a bar of A minor. I'll come down to the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings now. And now I've got this. It's called F sharp minor 7 flat 5. This might be a chord that you're unfamiliar with. Essentially, it's A minor with an F sharp in the bass. So I'm just going to re-finger like this. Instead of the 2nd and 3rd fingers here, I've got my 3rd and 4th fingers, and my 2nd finger is down on the 2nd fret of the bottom string. Visualize that as A minor over F sharp. You'll also see it called F sharp half diminished, F sharp minor 7 flat 5. And in this kind of slow ballad, you'll see this sort of thing a lot, especially in minor keys. And this happens something like 13, 14 times in this song, so it's really worth getting under your fingers. And generally it's coupled with this, B7. Now you could play your B7 here, but I'm playing mine here as an A7 type bar chord, barred at the 2nd fret, and then the fingers that create the chord shape are up here on the 4th fret. There's a good reason why we're doing that. You'll see why when we start adding a few details, but it's 2 bars of that and then 2 bars of this. As I say, if you're more familiar with this B7, play that for now, but when we look in more detail at the sort of picking things and stuff that we can do, embellishing this is going to be useful to play this B7 this way. Okay, the whole of the intro. And we're into the verse, which kicks off with an E minor. Now, in a little while, we'll look at a more intricate version that's much closer to the original for the intro. I've tabbed that out. And also some of the piano ideas for the verse that Elton John plays on the original. I've transcribed some of that and arranged it for the guitar. That works pretty well. Also the instrumental section, the kind of vibraphone and accordion duet thing that happens after the chorus, that I've also tabbed out. So we'll have a look at those in detail later, but for now let's just sketch out the verse. And the verse is quite straightforward. It's a 4-bar section that repeats, and it's like this. We've got E minor for a bar, A minor for a bar, then we've got a D chord, but I'm going to play D with an F sharp in the bass. Sometimes I'm doing that because that's actually what the note should be in the bass, but also I'm doing that almost out of habit because with the capo up on the 3rd fret, that just sounds a little bit bright. So I'm bringing that top note, the F sharp, down a couple of octaves there. So you could play a D like this with an F sharp played in the bass with a thumb wrapped round, but I'm not going to play the top string. So I'm going to do that. That's my D over F sharp. There's a whole bar of that. And then we get 2 beats of G. And we finish up with a single beat each of our F sharp minor 7, flat 5, and our B7. And that happens twice, and that's the whole of the first verse. So it's like this. What have I gotta do to make you love me? What have I gotta do to make you care? And again. What do I do when lightning strikes me? And I wake to find that you're not there. Okay? The second verse is exactly the same, except for the very end. So let's have the second verse as well while we're at it. What do I do to make you want me? What have I got to do to be heard? Oh, what do I say when it's all over? Now we've got our D over F sharp. Sorry seems to be the hardest word, to our G, but this time we go straight to another D over F sharp, which transitions into the chorus. Okay, so the very last bit. Oh, what do I say when it's all over? Sorry seems to be the hardest word. And we're into the chorus. So sad, so sad. It's a sad, sad situation. So let's look at that now. Okay, the chorus. The first 4 chords, 2 beats each, and they generally have a different bass note than the one you'd expect, so they're slash chords. We start with a C over E, so I'm playing the open bottom string here. It's sad. And by the way, we've moved from G, D over F sharp to C over E, so you can hear the last 2 chords of the verse transition down really nicely. But there is a snag, and we'll come back to that in a second. That's our C over E. So it's sad. Then we've got B7, but I'm going to play B7 with a G sharp in the D sharp in the bass. So sad, which is like this B7, but just with the 5th string missing. Then I'm going to play G over D, and now I've got this. C sharp minor 7 flat 5. Could play that a few different ways. It's actually the same as that second chord of the intro, but I'm going to play it this way. And all of those have this descending bass line. C over E, B over D sharp, G over D, and then there's C sharp minor 7 flat 5. The only issue we've got is that we start off with this C over E here as a result of coming down from the verse, but really I jump almost an octave then to my B over D sharp. So maybe If I kicked off my C over E by playing E here on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, that actually transitions much more smoothly between the C chord and the B7 chord. I mean, these are little details that you can either ignore or make your own mind up about them. So somewhere we've got to drop an octave, or leap an octave, I should say. That's the problem. From the verse, it's sad, so sad, it's a sad, sad situation. Okay, that's that. Now we've got C6, and it's getting, and I'm going to play, that's like an A minor with a C in the bass, B7 this way, more and more absurd, to E minor for 2 beats, and then our old friends, 1 beat each, and again, C over E, it's sad, so sad, why can't we talk it over? We finish off C for a bar. Always seems to me, A minor, sorry, seems B7 to be, and I'm going to play B7 sharp 9 because the melody note B is a D, which over the B chord makes a sharp 9, kind of a funky sound. So from the C, oh, it seems to me, sorry seems to be the hardest word. That's the end of the chorus, and we're into the instrumental section. Last little thing to notice here is that as we come out of the C chord into the A minor, always seems to me, sorry, I'm going to play, as you can hear on the original, 2, 3, walking down C on the 3rd fret of the 5th string to B on the 2nd fret. Sorry seems to be the hardest word. So one time, the whole of the chorus. It's sad, so sad, it's a sad, sad situation, and it's getting more and more absurd. It's sad, so sad, why can't we talk it over? Oh, it seems to me, sorry, seems to be the hardest word. And we're into the instrumental. So we've had the intro, we've had the 2 verses, the second of which leads into the chorus, which we've also looked at, and we're nearly there. We've now got this 8-bar instrumental section. As I say, it's a vibraphone and accordion thing. Ray Cooper plays vibes here. It's a lovely sound. That's quite straightforward, but then we'll go back and look at the tabbed arrangement I've got for this, the actual melody line. I've also done a similar thing for the intro and for parts of the verse. Anyway, the chords are just a bar of E minor, A minor for a bar, then it's D or D7. I play D this way, I play D7 this way. I think I play D7 there, and it's 2 beats of G, and then our F sharp minor 7 and B7. As we get to the G, actually, I'll play C over G to G, because that's what happens in the melody. You can hear that it picks up, there's a C in the melody right at the beginning of that G bar. So we'd have this. That's what happens. Now we've got our old friends, the F sharp and B chords. And now, again, E minor to A minor to D or D7 to G to D over F sharp, which is going to take us to another chorus. So anyway, that's the chords sketched out. What I want to do now is to look at the tabbed sections individually in the order that they appear. So we'll kick off with the intro. It's probably worth having a close listen to the original introduction to see what's going on here, but what I've tabbed out is my arrangement as close as I can make it to the original piano part, albeit with the restricted range of the guitar. Some of it's fairly obvious. The first two bars, of course, open top three strings with this descending bass line. So on the second beat of the E minor over B, I've got my little finger coming up to the third fret of the top string, and then I've got that. That's the third finger on the second fret, but the little finger on the third fret. And then we end that with the open second string. So that leads us onto the A minor. And I want the top note of my chord to be the second string, that first fret there, because that's how that melody goes. And then I'm not going to talk you through the next bit. You can work that out for yourselves. Okay, that's just a kind of descending line. We finish up with this. That's the first beat. Then we've nominally got a second beat of the F sharp minor 7 flat 5, but with this, that's the melody around the top string. We go down to the fourth fret of the second string, back up to the open top string, then second fret of the top string. I could probably keep the F sharp in the bass, but I find that a bit tricky, so I want something. I'm going to play the open fifth string there. That'll work fine. And then we finish with this, and finally you see the reason why we're playing B7 this way rather than this way, because I'm actually going to push my little finger up to the fifth fret for that. And quite often when we've got this F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7, we can play that sus4. So sus4 with the little finger on the fifth fret of the second string, then bring it down to the fourth fret where it should be, and then fill in with those two at the end. So the whole of that is going to be this. More or less. Okay, and I've got a similar thing for the verse. This is actually pretty much what he does. I think in the very first time we have this 4-bar sequence in the verse. We've got nothing special to do for the first bar, but then for the second bar I've got this. You can hear that in the piano over the A minor. So I'm playing my A minor, probably hitting the top string for the first two beats of this A minor, because I can hear that in the original. Then I'm going to come to this. I've got my little finger on the third fret of the second string, bring that off to reveal the normal first fret on the second string note, then that comes off for the open second string and back again. That leads very nicely to the D over F sharp. But actually with that D over F sharp, for the fourth one I'm going to come down to D7. So the note on the second string moves from the third fret to the first fret. That leads us onto the G. And now I finish with this. F sharp minor 7 flat 5, my first finger on the first fret of the second string is on, then it's off. That's just one beat of that. And then, again, my B7 sus4 to a standard B7. So it's just that little finger moving up to the fifth fret and then down again. And then we get into the next 4-bar section. So the whole of that would be... so on. And he doesn't do exactly that, but those kinds he does that exactly that once, but then each time we have the verse, you could fill in as you like. Of course, rather than just this kind of thing in between times, you could be picking in 16ths. You can really go to town with this, and it's quite a nice idea to make a difference between the very sedate opening and then, as we want to gain a bit more momentum, get some ideas in 16ths. Now, I had a bit of fun tabbing out the original vibraphone and accordion solo line in the instrumental section. I appreciate this is probably more for me than for anyone else, but here's the tab anyway. You can see there are gaps where I expect you'll just play a big chord. So we begin first beat and a half. There's nothing in the solo, so we can play just our E minor, and then the phrase kicks off with this. I'm putting my first finger on the 3rd fret of the top string. Okay, you want to check your fingering. My second finger's going to stay on that 3rd string. Getting to A minor, but with a note on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. Okay, so the first 2 bars. Now, the 3rd and 4th bars over your D over F sharp or D7 over F sharp is a very similar phrase to start with. That's an octave. Again, coming down in 6th, and we end up C over G to G. That's why that C over G is there, because we've got a little C in the melody just before we've got the G. Now, over the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 and B7, we've got a little run in 16ths, 9 different notes. Okay, and it's useful to dedicate a different finger to each fret. I've got my first finger on the 1st fret, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret. I'm actually using my 3rd finger because I find that gives me more accuracy. I could be using my little finger. Into the E minor, and that's the first half done. And we carry on. Okay, just using my 1st and 2nd fingers to create 3rds here. Once I've got to the 3rd and 4th frets of the 3rd and 4th strings, I'm going to just slide those up, and then I've got a note on the 5th fret of the 2nd string. I end up actually playing this little E minor triad here, which is exactly the same as the top 3 open strings, but because I've got this slide, I want to end up doing it that way. I say slide, but there's no easier way to play these notes here. So we get this. And onto the A minor, and a very similar idea as we had in the verse. Okay, so those 2 bars. And we finish up with another D7 or D7 over F sharp or D or whatever it is. That's that phrase there, again in 3rds. I'm using my 2nd and 3rd fingers initially, sliding down to the 2nd fret with that 2nd finger. And then I'm going to use my 1st and 3rd. I mean, you'll look at this and work out your own fingerings. And then we split off into 6ths, probably with the 1st and 2nd fingers. That makes more sense. And we finish off so sad, so sad. And we're into the next version of the chorus. So the whole thing slowly. And up to speed. If you've just had a look at the instrumental section and decided it was a bit tricky, well, please rest assured that that took me about 6 takes and 25 minutes to get that through more or less accurately. And when we have a playthrough in a moment, I might attempt to add the instrumental section, but I'm fairly sure I'll end up going back and overdubbing to obscure whatever fluffs there are bound to be. Anyway, look, we get into the chorus, and that takes us out to the outro. So the end of the chorus, the second chorus, is this. It's sad, so sad. Why can't we talk it over? Bar of C. Oh, it seems to me sorry seems to be the hardest word. And that kicks us off into a final verse. What have I gotta do to make you love me? What have I gotta do to be heard? Oh, what do I do when lightning strikes me? And then we get this. What have I gotta do? Straight B7 here if you like. What have I gotta do? E minor to A minor. What have I gotta do? And now a final F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7 sharp 9, because that's where the melody is. Sorry seems to be the hardest. That's a D sharp. Word, and we end up singing that word with word. Okay, let's have a playthrough. Good luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. that's it.